In the Lost Lands is a dark fantasy action-adventure flick starring Lilu, Drax the Destroyer, and Deacon Frost's platinum blonde vampire lover from Blade. A queen sends a powerful and feared sorceress into the ghostly wilderness of the Lost Lands in search of a magical power where she and her guide, a gun plus snake-wielding drifter, must outwit and outfight both man and demon. So it's like set in the far-flung future after an atomic war. Most of the world is the titular Lost Lands, with only a city and a few outposts sprinkled here and there. The city is controlled by an overlord and it's policed by the church. We learn that the overlord is a dying, bedridden old man, and his wife, the queen, who despises him, rules in his stead. She's also having an affair with Dave Bautista. Good for her. Milla Jovovich, as the sorceress, pays her rent by taking magical odd jobs, spouting her mantra, "I refuse no one." So the queen seeks her out, tasking her with traveling into the Lost Lands to find a werewolf to steal its skin so that the queen can use it to turn into a werewolf herself. Okay. But then one of the queen's advisors, who she is also having an affair with, immediately offers Jovovich payment to not do that, and she accepts both offers because she refuses no one. Then Jovovich meets up with Bautista independently and asks him to be her guide in the Lost Lands, which he accepts after some soldiers from the church attempt to capture Jovovich since she escaped them previously. The patriarch of the church suspects that the queen is consorting with both Bautista and Jovovich, which of course is blasphemy, and he plots to expose her and take the throne for himself. I've gotta say, there's a lot more political intrigue in this schlockfest than I was expecting. I thought I was getting something like Ultraviolet rather than Game of Thrones. Oh, that makes much more sense then. Visually, the film feels like a Zack Snyder film, so a lot of green screens. Also, a good chunk of this movie features our two leads riding on horses, but I guess horses are expensive and potentially dangerous to have on set, so those scenes consist of ultra-wide establishing shots where the characters and their steeds are clearly CGI models, and then the actors were shot in awkward close-ups with them miming riding on horseback. I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't a consistent visual throughout the film and very, very distracting. There are some genuinely well-crafted moments of action and suspense, but not enough to offset the noticeable budget constraints. And you know, I know 55 million, it seems like a lot to people, and most people will be like, well, where did that money go? To these two? Because I don't know if it was worth it. As the performances go, there's nothing special. Jovovich is giving the same type of performance we've seen her give as Alice in the Resident Evil franchise, which is to say a stoic badass. And to be fair, her character does have a badass moment where her character escapes being hanged by the church early on, and she walks through a crowd of slaves as they chant "the witch that would not hang" over and over again. I'll admit, it kind of gave me goosebumps. That being said, for most of the movie, she remains a sort of boring enigma, a mystery I had no real interest in solving. Dave Bautista has stated that he wants to be considered a good actor rather than a movie star, and I find that commendable. He's got a decent track record thus far, working with directors like James Gunn, Denis Villeneuve, Rian Johnson, M. Night Shyamalan, Gia Coppola, and doing some voice work in a Hayao Miyazaki film. This film is not one of his better choices, I'm afraid. He's another badass. He looks cool, he yells at the top of his lungs at villains, and he kicks ass. But that's as deep as he goes character-wise. I don't really blame either of them for not having depth. That should probably be blamed on the script adaptation, but I digress. In the Lost Lands is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, who is a filmmaker I have a soft spot for. His Mortal Kombat movie from '95 was a seminal part of my movie-watching childhood, and I appreciate his other films like Event Horizon, Soldier, and even Alien vs. Predator. He also produced Pandorum, which is pretty good from what I remember. This will be his 9th film featuring his wife and muse Milla Jovovich as the lead. The other films include 6 Resident Evils, a Three Musketeers adaptation, and Monster Hunter. And maybe it's just me, but I think it's kind of sweet that they keep working together on these silly B movies, even if they aren't that great.
So, how'd you like my story?
I still don't know how it ends.
And now it's time for the ranking. Should you see this movie? I say, hell no. In the Lost Lands is sometimes entertaining, most times not so much. I don't think anyone was rushing out to see this one, but just in case, save your money. Or go see Novocaine. Well, that's the video. I'd like to take this time to thank my 2 supporters, Jay Sheldon and Jordan Wilson. I appreciate you guys to no end. And if you would like to support these videos too, find me on Ko-fi. For $1 a month, you can become a Helpful Hellion and receive a fun shout out at the end of each video, like this one. And as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to hit the bell icon to get updated on future videos, and I will see you all next time.